Home buyer remorse is exploding. Are you house poor? You did it. You bought the dream home, the milestone you've worked for your whole life. But here's the question. What if that dream is now your greatest regret? What if owning a home makes you feel trapped, isolated, and financially broken? This isn't just a rare story. In the US, it's happening to millions. In Singapore, it's a growing reality too. People buying homes only to find themselves skipping groceries, canceling social plans, and delaying basic repairs. All because every penny is tied up in their house. It's called being house poor, and today we're unpacking this painful reality. Stick around until the end, because I'll share two inspiring stories, one from the US and one from Singapore, of people who clawed their way out of this financial trap. And if you want practical tips to avoid buyer's remorse and build a wealthier future, hit the like button and subscribe to Wealth for You. Let's make sure your home is a blessing, not a burden. Chapter 1. The Reality of Being House Poor. Now, imagine this. You move into your new home. Fresh paint, big dreams. But the honeymoon ends fast. You're drowning in mortgage payments, unexpected repairs, and rising taxes. Before you know it, you're skipping groceries and saying no to nights out with friends. All because your house is eating your paycheck. Sound extreme? It's not. And if you're in the US or Singapore, you've probably heard stories just like this. Or maybe you're living it. Chapter 2. Problem Breakdown. Deep dive into heart-wrenching points. Let's start with what it really means to be house poor. It's not just a number. It's a lifestyle of constant sacrifice. When over 30% of your income is tied up in housing, you're left with so little for the essentials, emergencies, or even joy. And here's where it truly hurts. Chapter 3. Dream home, but no groceries. You buy the home of your dreams. It's the house you pictured yourself growing old in, with space for your family and everything you've worked so hard for. But soon, reality hits. Groceries? You're cutting coupons or skipping items entirely. That leaky roof? It'll have to wait. Even small pleasures, like grabbing coffee with friends, feel like indulgences you can no longer afford. Think about that. A house that was supposed to make you feel safe and proud now makes you feel anxious and ashamed. Have you ever felt that weight? If so, share your experience in the comments. Chapter 4. The Crushing Blow of Unexpected Expenses. You've budgeted every penny for your mortgage, and then life happens. Your water heater breaks, and it's $2,600 to replace. Property taxes rise, eating into your savings. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities, and yet they come at the worst time, leaving you scrambling to stay afloat. It's the feeling of being knocked down just as you're struggling to stand. And the worst part? These expenses aren't rare. They're inevitable. Chapter 5. Maintenance Disasters That Drain You. Imagine living in an 80-year-old home. Pipes burst one after the other, draining not just your savings, but your spirit. Just when you think it can't get worse, your neighbor's faulty pipe sprays water into your house. Your sanctuary becomes a source of relentless stress. You're not just house poor, you're emotionally exhausted. How do you stay hopeful when your home is breaking you down? It's a nightmare that feels impossible to wake up from. Chapter 6. Feeling trapped in your own home. Being house poor feels like living in a cage, except the bars are made of mortgage payments. Over 30% of your income goes to housing, leaving you nothing for the life you wanted to live inside that home. Groceries are a luxury. Date nights are out of the question. Vacations? Forget it. The irony is brutal. You bought this home to feel free, to feel accomplished, but instead, it's turned into a trap. Can you relate to this feeling of being stuck? Let me know in the comments. Chapter 7. The Toll on Relationships. The stress of being house poor doesn't just hit your wallet. It invades your relationships. Constant arguments over money replace laughter and connection. You isolate yourself from friends because you can't afford to join them. And when you're always saying no to social invites, people stop asking. It's not just your finances that feel broken, it's your sense of community and belonging. The isolation can be devastating. Have you experienced this in your life? Let's talk about it below. Chapter 7. Sacrificing Long-Term Goals. When your house eats up all your income, your future pays the price. Retirement savings? Delayed. College funds for your kids? On hold. You're constantly choosing survival over security, and that trade-off leaves you with regrets that grow heavier every year. It's heartbreaking to think that a decision meant to build your future can end up stealing it instead. Now, take a moment to reflect. Does any of this hit home? Are you house poor, or do you feel like you're heading in that direction? Drop a comment and let's start a conversation. Your story might inspire someone else to take action. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to stay this way. Stick with me, because next, I'll share two powerful stories from the US and Singapore of people who escaped the house poor trap and turned their lives around. And if you're finding value in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wealth for You. Together, we can build a future where your home adds to your life, not drains it. Up next, Sarah from California, who faced an 80-year-old home full of disasters, and won. And Jian and Mei from Singapore, who turned their financial nightmare into a story of resilience. Stay tuned. Chapter 9. Sarah's Journey. Meet Sarah from Chicago. She bought what she thought was her dream home, a charming 80-year-old beauty. But the reality hit hard. Pipes burst, property taxes soared, and she faced a $5,000 HVAC repair all within a year. She was left with no savings and no peace of mind. Here's how Sarah fought back. She started a strict budget, cutting unnecessary spending and tracking every dollar. She picked up a remote side hustle that added $600 a month. And when mortgage rates dipped, she refinanced, saving $250 a month. Slowly but surely, she climbed out of the house poor trap. Sarah's story is a reminder. You can take control, no matter how deep the hole feels. Chapter 10. Jian and Mei's Strategy. Now, let's fly across the world to Singapore, where Jian and Mei faced a similar challenge. They stretched their finances to buy a condo, only to be hit with high maintenance fees and hidden costs they hadn't planned for. They felt stuck, just like Sarah. But here's how they turned things around. They started renting out a spare room on Airbnb, generating extra income. They also traded their car for public transport, saving thousands annually. And by restructuring their CPF contributions, they maximized their housing payments without touching their cash savings. Jian and Mei learned to make their home work for them, not against them. Chapter 11. Actionable Steps to Avoid or Escape Being House Poor. So, how can you avoid or escape the heartbreak of being house poor? Here are some actionable steps. Set a realistic budget before buying a home. Just because you're approved for a loan doesn't mean you can afford it. Always plan for unexpected costs. An emergency fund of 6 months' expenses can be a lifesaver. Consider house hacking. Rent out a room or part of your property to bring in extra income. If you're struggling, look into refinancing to lower your monthly payments. Most importantly, don't let the pressure to buy the perfect home ruin your finances. A home should improve your life, not make it harder. Conclusion. So, what's the big takeaway? Owning a home should add to your life, not take away from it. It's about finding the balance, choosing a home you can afford comfortably while leaving room for groceries, emergencies, and most importantly, joy. Have you ever faced home buyer remorse or felt the weight of being house poor? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments. You never know how your experience could inspire someone else to make smarter choices. And if this video gave you clarity or comfort, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Wealth for You. We're here to guide you toward financial freedom while building a life you truly love. Remember, your home should be your sanctuary, not your shackle.